to love to sit for hours and play beneath the table, something like this. Typically, I'd play dolls, or maybe with my stuffed animals. But one day, I had a great idea. I decided that I needed to decorate this table. So I took out my crayons, and I started marking on it, as children will do. Luckily, my father happened to be walking through, and he said, "Ellen, no, please, don't do that. That table is very special to our family." Now, I bet you're wondering why that table is special to my family. One of the reasons why I came to Suzhou, to China and to Suzhou in particular, 5 years ago, is because 100 years ago, in 1917, my grandfather, Carrie Touchstone, came from the U.S. state of Texas to work as an administrator at Dongwu Dashue, which became Suzhou University. While he was here, he met a lovely young American woman, my grandmother, Mabel Ellen Thomas, who was a fiery nurse from Pennsylvania. She was here working as the superintendent of nurses, or as you would call it, the nurse leader, at the Suzhou University affiliated hospital, which has now become Suzhou Hospital, DIGA. Of course, two young Americans in the romantic city of Suzhou, living out their passions. What's going to happen? Well, they fell in love, and they got married in 1919. They had 2 children, my Aunt Mary and Uncle Joe. And you know what they bought? They bought that table. That table that I was referring to. They bought that table, and when they went back to the United States in 1922, they took that table with them, and it's been passed down in the family to my father, their youngest child, and then on to me. Besides my grandmother, my grandfather, my aunt, and my uncle, there was another really important person in our household, in their Suzhou household. That was the woman who helped them to take care of my aunt and uncle. Now, in fact, she was so significant that my aunt and uncle, little American children growing up in China, they ended up speaking Suzhounese before they spoke English. The woman was that significant in their lives. Unfortunately, my family members passed away before I could ask them for the name of the Ai. So I've spent the past 5 years doing research about my family and about trying to find out who this Ai is, because I would really like to meet her descendants. I'd like to meet her grandchildren. They would be like my Suzhou family. Now, this project, looking into my heritage, has become almost like a second career for me. So I'm gonna start calling myself a slasher, right? Back in 2007, Marcy Albaher released this book in which she defines slashers as people who can't define themselves with just one word. They have maybe a main career and then slash another career during the nights or possibly on weekends. An example might be a writer slash photographer slash artist. Right? I have always, I think, been a slasher. Even before it was cool, before it had a name. When I was an undergraduate, getting my bachelor's degree at the University of Nebraska, I had 3 majors: French slash psychology slash linguistics. And also later, when I was getting my graduate degrees, I was pursuing my PhD in applied linguistics at the same time that I was getting my MBA in international business during the summers. So, yeah, I think I'm a slasher. In fact, what do you think? Do you think I should change my business card? Do you think it should say marketing professor / historian, or maybe a filmmaker about my family heritage? Maybe. I'll think about it. Okay, so I promised you that I would talk to you about what passion can do for you. And there are 3 main benefits to passion. The first one is you'll find your people. Okay, for example, my grandparents are an excellent example of this, right? They came over from the US to China when it was very difficult to do that. When I came 5 years ago, I just got on a plane, right? They had to get on a boat and spend a month to come here. It was very different at that time, right? But they came here. They were passionate about helping people. My grandfather at Suzhou University, my grandmother at the hospital. Passionate people. And they found each other here in Suzhou. So they're a great example of people finding their tribe, as I call it, or their people. I'm another example of that with this project. With this project, I've been working on it for 5 years. I have talked to hundreds of people. I have told this story hundreds, thousands of times. And as I move through those 5 years, I keep meeting more and more people who are interested and who want to help me. And now through some of my friends, I've met people at Suzhou Broadcast System and people at the film school at my university. And it's just so many people want to help me find out more information about my grandparents and hopefully to find out who the I was. I've found my tribe. Okay. The second benefit that passion can bring into your life is giving you innovative ideas. So I told you earlier that I have a PhD in applied linguistics and an MBA in international business. Well, last March, I had a really amazing career success. Finally, after many years of trying to get a particular article on the linguistic servicescape published, I found a home for it. I found a home in a very prestigious journal. And so I feel like I'm back, baby. I'm back as a thought leader in services marketing. But, you know, I've told you, I've been a slasher for a long time, right? It hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy being an applied linguist in a business school or a marketer in a linguistics department, right? But I am so glad that I didn't give up either of my passions in favor of the other, because with this particular publication, I was bringing those together. And it's really important as the world becomes more complicated. Complicated problems deserve complicated answers from people who have passions, maybe in multiple fields, or working with people who have passions in multiple fields. So I'm really a firm believer in collaborating and using your passion to solve the world's problems. Okay, so I have a story related to this. A few weeks ago, I was in Shanghai catching up with one of my American friends who happened to be there for business. She was with some colleagues from Singularity University. Singularity University is a think tank in Silicon Valley. So she introduced me to Aaron Frank, the famous journalist, expert, power user, influencer in virtual reality and augmented reality. So we go to lunch. She introduced me to him as her friend Ellen, who has an MBA in international business and who's a marketing professor. That's what he knew about me, right? So we're sitting there at lunch. He's pretty jet lagged, so he's not really participating much in the conversation. He's letting us catch up. And I mentioned that I also have a PhD in applied linguistics and that I'm a language planner. And at that point, he almost jumped up over the table at me and said, "That's fascinating." And I looked around because there must be someone else here, right? I never had such a positive reaction to telling someone that I'm an applied linguist. Typically, I get the reaction, so what does one do with a PhD in applied linguistics? Or, what is an applied linguist? But he was so energized by the fact that I had applied linguistics to marketing in my research on the linguistic servicescape that we spent the rest of the afternoon talking about possible collaborations in terms of language planning and virtual reality or augmented reality. So what do you think? Ellen Touchstone, marketing professor slash historian slash virtual reality, augmented reality consultant? What do you think? Maybe. We will see. Okay. Now, I have been passionate about languages, linguistics, business for over 30 years now. I'm not telling you that all of your passions have to be long-term. Maybe you should try out some passions. Try them on, see how they fit. Okay, this is an example from my life. Back when I was 13 years old, I announced to my parents that I wanted to be an archaeologist. Now, my friends who are in the audience, I see a few of them, they're probably thinking, ooh, that doesn't sound like something that Elle would really like. Elle does not like getting dirty or sleeping in tents or hiking. And you're right, okay? But my parents didn't tell me that. They let me discover it on my own. So the first thing, they were very supportive of my passion. The first thing they did is they took me to Chicago to the King Tut exhibit at the Field Museum. And I liked that. It was very interesting, okay? And they continued supporting me. Later on, a few years later, we were going on a family vacation to the American Southwest. And my father, who was also a university professor, he had a contact who was an archaeologist in New Mexico. So my father arranged for me to have a little mini internship of 3 days as an archaeologist, okay? So the first day I went out with 2 archaeologists walking in the hot desert sun in the summer of New Mexico. And I don't know if you know what archaeologists typically do, but they walk around and they look at the ground to see if there's a particular type of plant life that indicates a civilization had been there at one time, okay? Kind of boring, in my opinion, right? Lots of hiking in the hot New Mexico sun. The second day, we went to a famous national park or national monument in the United States, Chaco Canyon. And this is where the Anasazi civilization lived until they mysteriously disappeared many years ago. So we went there, and yes, it's ruins, okay? The civilization is no more. And I did not find it particularly inspiring. The third day of my internship, right? I'm giving it a good try. The third day of my internship, I was working at the local museum, the county museum, and they had me in the back room sorting artifacts from an archaeological dig. And everything was okay until I pulled out a dog's paw. A dog's paw. And I screamed, and I said, no, archaeology is not for me, okay? I did not become an archaeologist, but my parents let me make that decision myself, okay? So the third thing that passion will give you is energy, right? I think you can see I'm a pretty energetic, passionate person, right? Okay. So last year, I ended up breaking my foot. Don't worry, it was not anything traumatic or anything like that, just me walking. I broke my foot. But because I'm so passionate about teaching and dedicated to helping my students learn about international business, I didn't miss a single day of teaching. There I am on my knee walker, my fun knee walker. Okay, so in conclusion, I'm Ellen. I'm a marketer / applied linguist / historian / filmmaker. I'm a proud Suzhouwomen. I hope you're okay with me calling myself that, since my family started here at that time. Okay. I'm a proud slasher also. And who knows what my next passion is going to be. Thank you.